a forensic analysis of the footage supposedly captured by the Apollo program on the moon. Almost literally, it was captured on Earth. I'm sorry my voice sounds like this. I don't want you to know who I am. There were 6 missions that landed on the moon, as told by NASA. Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, and 16, and 17. We will call them using the shorthand that NASA uses, A11, A12, and so on. The first 3 missions, A11 through 14, had television cameras set up on tripods on the surface of the moon by the astronauts. The second 3, A15, 16, and 17, had television cameras remotely controlled by mission control on Earth set up on moon buggies. The EVAs listed at the bottom are extravehicular activities in which the astronauts left the lander and went out on the surface of the moon. In the last 3 missions, they were held in service on the twice per day in the first 3 missions. Here is the setup that was on the front of the moon buggy, and a camera on the left, and a receiver, and transmitter, and what have you. Here is the moon buggy, camera in the front, and a DAT camera in the middle, which we will talk about later. All the footage in this analysis was acquired from NASA, their website. Here are the links. All 6 missions. If you click on mission, go to view movie clips. You will see the different segments. They were all broken up into tiny clips. I can grab each clip and put them together. You can see lists of the clips, and I put them together and made a giant edit, which I can analyze. Here's a sample beginning. You can see the running time frame at the top. You can see the name of the clip at the bottom, and the segmented part of the mission that is listed on the site. So easy reference if you want to go back and grab the clip and analyze yourself, which I encourage you to do. Aside from that, there was some retiming of the clips. For proper analysis, you'll find out why. It's obvious. This is slow motion and it's sped up. You can see the timing that was changed. It's the timer at the bottom, how much the length of the clip was modified. Here's another sample. You can see the timer at the top and the new frame time at the bottom. You see them running based on the factor change. That number was changed to the one at the bottom. It's not quite straightforward. There's quite a few different time changes they use. But noticing if you're named a current clip, you can see here on the list how it corresponds to the clip list of the NASA site. Easy for you to reference what I'm showing you. Go to the site, look at the clip yourself, do your own analysis, which again, I encourage you to do. I will now briefly summarize the entire analysis. I will present clips to you categorized by mission. A11 has the least to offer, except for A12, the EV camera malfunction, almost as soon as they turned it on. This is slow motion, hopping and jogging. It's quite extensive. Here I am speeding it up. You will see more in the appendix if you'd like to see that, the full extent. It's quite extraordinary. Notice the color changes in the footage that will be explained later about how the footage was generated and supposedly acquired. This type of footage, the slow-mo, sped up, is very revealing, and is how most people can conclude that the footage is faked. Here we see an example. Looks quite normal. Someone running on the surface seems reasonable. Well, that was sped up. This is the actual footage they presented to us, and very obviously, it is slow motion. Another example seems reasonable in that hopping trying to regain its balance, and here we have obvious slow motion, again, acquired on the surface. You will see much more in the full analysis. They also walked on the moon, not really as much as running or hopping and jogging, that is, but I find it somewhat more revealing. It looks quite normal walking here, except for the possible footage, which will be explained later. Again, just walking. This is sped up. You can tell by the factor change at the bottom of the clip. Stumbling was also incredibly revealing that this was slow motion footage. And as we show examples where we change the length, speeding it up, in other words, you can see that it was normal sped up and slow motion at the moon speed that was presented by NASA. take yourself to is that they're actually on wires. So there's an oddity to it, but it's still very revealing. This is spasms I noticed they were having quite a few, and I suspect it's because of the wires pulling them and throwing them off balance briefly, and the spasms recover. I had some extra events I found that I thought were revealing when shown at modified speed. Here you can see with the log and see the factor change. That's my analysis saying it's normal when there's no factor change. This is what was presented to us by NASA. The gravity analysis. Here lies the proof the footage is fake. Gravity analysis of astronauts jumping is correct in NASA footage because of the combined use of wires and film speed changes. We will show quite a few examples. However, the analysis of falling objects in sand quite revealing. Falling objects in sand cannot be put on wires, so they only have film speed changes to hide that the gravity was wrong, and they have few opportunities to make it reasonable. You see, it's wrong based on my analysis. On the moon, I modified the speed to make it right, and you can see the two compared together, and then my vector change that shows is correct for Earth. This is one where it was correct in the footage and wrong in my factor change. I realized I had the incorrect factor change for that one spot. We changed it just for the small portion where the object is falling. You cannot tell. It plays cleanly. Here's another example. It's wrong in my factor change. I modify it just for when the object falls, and you cannot notice. You have to see the factor change at the bottom. Same analysis for sand. Lots of opportunities. Wrong in the footage. I'll modify this factor at the bottom to make it look correct. And then in my modified factor change for Earth speed, it is correct. And I don't just have a few examples of this. Be prepared. And of course, you can look at the clip reference and go analyze it yourself. Here you can see the astronaut jumping when the sand falls faster. Only a few examples where the sand was falling in the same shot the astronaut was jumping. So I mentioned speed change quite a bit through speed change events, which means multiple speeds used in one clip. Here we saw the astronaut running away. You cannot notice that I had used several speed changes. Here's the actual footage. It looks reasonable. He's moving fast, but watch. It will suddenly go in slow motion. That was presented by NASA. Here I found it because they used one factor change. It looks ridiculous here, and it looks normal back there. Different film formats were utilized in different aspects of the entire hoax. I believe the TV footage was actually captured on 16mm and then recaptured by a television camera. This is an optical player used quite extensively in the hoax in different aspects, but an example of how a camera is pointed at a projector, the projector is projecting the footage and the camera recaptures it at a different speed. We have an example of it in 144 frames, slow motion, and then you can extract different frames and different patterns to create different frames per second pieces of film. These are all the factors I had to deduce were used in the footage. It's possible different ones were used, but I found these were Good enough. This is a model of the set that was used to capture the footage. You can see as a backdrop, very large moon surface reproduction set, possibly 300 meters diameter. There's an opportunity for enterprising science students to analyze the footage themselves and introduce what the size was in each instance. It was quite an extensive program conducted by Apollo to capture high detail imagery of the landing sites. In fact, an intelligence service, NGA, has been developed out of this. Here is a Bell computer model of the surface using the footage. The mapping was quite accurate and extensive. Here we are, POV on the set model. I am showing clearly how the backdrop. Analyzing photographs and footage captured by the astronauts and the TV cameras, we can see evidence of the sets that were used. We can find evidence supporting the use of sets. These are panoramas provided by NASA. Photographs joined as the astronaut danced in a circle like on a panorama dance. And actually, because of the overlap of the photographs, you can also extract stereoimagery. And analyzing the stereoimagery, we can also see that there is a point at which the set stops and the backdrop begins. This is also because of the limitation of stereophotography allowed and not easily produced as a set where the plane is photography itself. As we go further, we will talk about the wires used in training and the balance between counterweight versus frame speed. And then we analyze the test footage. It will more closely match the modified passive footage of Earth than it does the simulated footage that we see here. Because of the low gravity, friction was reduced, and you don't see much of that in the passive footage. In fact, the extraordinary abilities granted by the such low gravity are hardly discernible in footage. And then we will look at footage that somewhat reveals the use of the wire or wire at the top. There are equations that show the counterweight necessary depending on the frames per second footage used. There was a lot of footage captured by the rover's photographs as well as DAC camera, data acquisition camera. Here we see stabilized and sped up. It looks normal. Nobody looks like it's on the outside. Here again, it's sped up and looks like someone's driving fast on the set. It's also quite possible this was model photography. More analysis will be necessary to determine which is which. But they had some fancy setups with a simulator. Sometimes on the set, as an example here, you can barely see the rover on the same set model. There it is in the middle. They had a flight simulator set up with a complex modeling of the sun matching the generated footage. And all of this is supported by NASA capabilities, which we will show later. This is a model of a snorkel cam, and quite possible they had stop motion animation with a camera inside the model. Look at how tiny that model is, and look at the footage generated by it. This is extraordinary stuff. I find it incredibly beautiful. This is John Dykstra, the mastermind behind Star Wars, who trained under the mastermind behind the Apollo footage, who I claim was the mastermind. But look at this incredible footage. That looks real to me. And this is all a computer-controlled camera in a tiny, tiny model. I believe they used larger models in the lunar simulation, the Apollo hoax. But these tiny models show extraordinary results. And this is a computer-controlled animated camera. This is a fighter pilot flight simulator camera running over a model, and they actually use the same technology to train the astronauts for the Apollo missions. That's a moon model with a flight simulator, live, real-time flight simulator camera. This is actually a lunar rover simulator, same build. They had a camera, here it is, running over a model of the moon surface, which they would actually accurately model the surface they would be driving over. They have two cameras, two views with one camera. And look at the cameras going up and down as if the car is reacting to the surface of the model. Quite incredible technology, not utilized there nearly as well as it was in the hoax. They had a complex setup, giant, accurate moon models, and they got more detailed for closer landing. This is all set up for simulating landing. They have giant simulators. They utilize real-time cameras run over those models, operated by the astronauts. This is an accurate topographic model of the moon, which is highly detailed. This was actually used in a simulator. You can see how large it is. And I believe this is small compared to the models they used in the hoax. Here is an example of it being utilized in the simulator. These are just photographs from the simulator, but quite extraordinary. And you will reference footage later to see how easily that was utilized. This is the lab, I believe, responsible for the visual effects by Alan Tunnell. We will briefly show his history. There's plenty of information on the internet about him. I'm just mostly going to introduce him. We have lighting footage. This is specifically 12. There was a dust blast. Around 8:14, they kind of screwed up a bit. You can see there's a difference in lighting in the craters because before the dust it's a model, and after the dust it's the set that the lander was on. This is mission control. I believe very few there even knew it was a hoax. The astronauts were only astronauts were allowed to talk to astronauts on the moon. They were in on it, as well as the camera operator, because obviously the camera was recording, not live operating. And as well as agents, maybe a few agents in mission control. Gravity analysis is obviously the most important part, but I think some orientation is necessary so you understand what you're looking at when you look at the footage. Good place to begin is the moon's surface. Obviously no atmosphere of water, which of course means no plant life. The brightest photography of brightly stars aren't visible. No water also means no erosion. There's erosion disappearing, and of course you end up with rocks and boulders and so forth. And craters. No craters in this view, but you can see the simplicity. The simplicity of the surface also allows for easier simulation of the footage of the landscape. TV cameras were used. This is TV camera on rover. It's actually quite large. You'll see some footage with an astronaut next to the camera. But they used a rotating disc of red, green, and blue, and capturing 3 scans per frame, actually. And you end up with this kind of rainbow look to it. When all 3 colors are present at the same time, fully, you end up with white, you have black, makes you with colors. Mixture of intensity can give you gray or the colors themselves if they're separated. Here we see normal ocean water. You can the slower it goes, the harder to see. The faster it goes, you see kind of this blurry image moving. That's what phase film photography usually is made of, and television cameras are HD, and so they have a lot of this as well. There's not so much scan as much as progressive, which is image after image. This is what many of you are used to in the past when you saw a TSC video. You would see hard scan lines and even scan lines, and as an object moved, you see the separation. They call it combing. This is an exaggerated version, so you can see it more clearly. Sometimes there's a little blurriness, and glow, and a residual image, and so it softens a little bit. It's a little more bearable. But you can see the style of motion blur here. If we have our simulated shot of the moon, you can see what it looks like. This is much more refined. You can barely see the scan lines here. This seems like it should have been a preferable way of capturing the moon footage. But there's an advantage to the hoaxers to use the progressive red, green, and blue, and then that will become clear later. Here's the refined with the glow and residual image, which provides this kind of trail, which softens the effect. And of course, we have it simulated. There it is, just a shaky camera. Now we show rainbow motion where we separate the colors, and you can see what happens there. This is a view that is spinning, capturing red and green and blue, and red and green and blue, and combining all three together to make white. Here you can see the different colors, and if you combine them at different intensities, you would end up with the full gamut of colors in the rainbow, as well as in between. And the closer they get to being balanced, the greater white and black it gets. And you saw the color footage in the slow-mo. You see it again quite often. That's because of the imbalance that was purposefully done. So now you see the rainbow motion blur. As the object moves, the red and green and blue are capturing different states of the object through its movement. And when you combine them, you end up with separate colors, except for the overlap, and you get white. The slower it moves, the more normal, quote unquote, it looks. And the faster it moves, the more rainbowy it looks. And then we can add the glow effect as well as the residual image, and you get something very similar. Here you'll see direct examples in a few seconds of this type of footage. Here it's smaller with video compression added on top, so you can see why the image looks so crappy. It was purposely done to disguise it was on the moon, quote unquote, but it only ate the details. Here's direct examples of the rainbow motion blur. The faster objects moved, the more obvious the count, and the higher the contrast, white over black becomes very obvious, gray over gray, not so obvious. Some of these are moving, that's why you see them repeating, because they're just short clips. This is the full presentation. You'll see this throughout the analysis, except in a few cases in which I have put them in the appendix, so you can see the full presentation of the clips. But in this case, there are a few enough clips that showing the entire presentation, I think, is advantageous, and then we will go through specific examples. At the end of the presentation here of the clips, I will turn some yellow and subdue them because they will not be utilized in the analysis. You can see the ones that will analyze. You can go back and take a closer look at those clips to find which ones they feel like. Look at this very distorted, crappy look. And of course, all my clips are factor changes that comparison. This is the moon speed. This I'm not showing the factor. It's obviously it's very, very slow. I just want to show frame by frame so you can see the rainbow effect. We'll be analyzing thrown and falling objects. It's important for you to understand why you're seeing what you're seeing. I cannot completely explain why. It's quite a complex pipeline they utilize to generate this imagery. It was 24 frames per second was the actual footage, and it was shown to us in 30 frames per second. That's what I have here, acquired from the NASA site, 30 frames per second. So sometimes it just makes it very difficult to analyze, to reverse engineer that, but we have enough control that we can analyze the falling objects for gravity. There's this shimmery, otherworldly effect established, quite extraordinary. This is, of course, very slowed down, so you can see the effect. Here, sometimes you see this, it's compressed to one image, sometimes you see multiple. It's not very straightforward. We may never fully understand how they generate the imagery, but we have enough control again to analyze for gravity. So you can see the severe compression as well as distortion. The white shovel, darker gray background, the rainbow motion blur is more easily noticeable. And of course, the extreme movement. This is frame by frame why the specific changes are occurring. I do not completely understand. I completely analyzed that. I did not see any for this time. Then there are the cameras we utilize lenses. There's distortion as a result. You can see this is the modern cameras cut in half, so you can see the glass inside. Lenses are curved, they're curved more extremely, less extremely. There's an array of lenses. This creates complication, complexity of light moving through. You can see extreme curvature here. Depending on the lenses utilized, you end up with a certain amount of distortion. Here is a graphic example of distortion. This is the fisheye, extreme fisheye, and this is the opposite. It's called pinch and push, I believe. And you will find in the footage, this is the kind of distortion that you see. It helps disorient the viewer as well as can make some things seem far away than they really are. Frame per second is an important aspect of the hoax. You need to understand it. Please take time to understand it. The projectors, they run film through the projector. Arms grabbing the film, moving it, and there's a spinning disc going right through. It reels the film. And depending how quickly the film moves through the projector versus how quickly it was captured, you end up with some effects like slow motion and sped up. That's the dive camera on the left, 16mm camera, and projector on the right, 24 frames per second. You move 24 frames per second through the projector as it was captured by the camera, you end up with normal motion, 1 second. There's a 144 frame strip, and you can capture it at 144 frames per second if you want, and you can project at 144 frames per second if you want. That's quite extreme most every time. What you do, 1 second of action captured at 144 frames per second, projected at 144 frames per second equals 1 second of action. However, if you project that same 144 frames at 24 frames per second, you end up with 6 seconds of action. Because it's 6 times as long the footage as the 24 frames. That's extreme slow motion. Here's an example. There's 24 frames Captured and projected is 144 frames per bottom, captured and projected at 24 frames per second. Takes 6 times as long as only 24 frames per second, 6 seconds. This is accomplished by the optical printer mentioned in the summary with a camera pointing at a projector, projecting one frame at a time. The camera clicks, and you can skip 3 frames and capture another frame, and you can do it any pattern, however you would like. Effects are accomplished this way too. So here we have 144 frames per second film strip, and here we have 24 frames per second. We can fill those 24 frames with different frames on the 144 frame strip using our optical printer. You can see the pattern I use, the frames I use. This will give us different frames per second. We can recreate frames per second depending on the pattern we choose. And this was very significant in how this hoax was accomplished. These are all the specific frames per second I have extracted from the footage that I believe were utilized. Here you can see the pattern of the frames, and then you have some in-between frames, which can be used for rainbow motion blur mentioned earlier. Quite an extraordinary setup, and very efficient and effective. Here we see the examples of those frames per second. Playing at 24 frames per second. So you have different speeds of action. You take 44 frames per second, play 24 frames per second. You can take 59 frames per second, play 24 frames per second. How it was captured, the speed it was captured or generated versus the speed it was played will determine this slow motion. These are the factors of frame length that were utilized, that I utilized to reverse their slow motion and make it look normal as it was originally performed. You can see the 44 frames per second is the main film speed, and the others we use in specific instances. Here we see them all, those frames per second, modified by the factors I showed, and you can really tell the difference between the actions. It's the same action, done through a different process, and almost identical at the end of my process. My reverse engineering. You can see subtle changes. You can see the actual frames used out of the 144 frame film length. And so you can rely on the process they use to reverse engineer the action. Now, the other complication mentioned was the fact that it was captured at 24 frames per second, yet shown to us and presented on the website at 30 frames per second, because that was only TSC FPS. I had stuttering the bottom is the 30 frames per second, and the top is also 30 frames per second. But I had it stuttering, which you find in some of the footage. And there's a phenomenon that I find quite interesting, is that the distortion of the footage, because it was broadcast from the moon, and some time changes were actually went backwards in time and started up again, and you had remained in sync. And that's a phenomenon that I think should be explored more, but of course it wasn't real. It was just to confuse the viewer and to make it seem like it was coming from the moon, quote unquote. And that's a presentation there. You can analyze more fully on your own. It's not vital for this presentation, but it was presented to you so you have access to it. Now we get to the gravity analysis. Here you can see, I show you how to come up with my graphic for analyzing the gravity. The blue is Earth gravity, the red is moon gravity. You can see the obvious difference. The moon objects fall slower, the blue objects fall faster. You won't see these animated. The analysis, I'm just showing you how this graphic was generated. The footage was matched up to the astronauts so that the astronauts were the same size. And based on that, the analysis was generated. You should familiarize yourself with the numbers on the graphic. They represent a certain specific number of frames that fall every time. There is no exception. Gravity doesn't change. And because of the frames per second, 24 frames per second, here represented at 30 frames per second, it's the same thing. It's 1 second of their time. You can tell by the sound scene. There is 30 frames per second. You can determine how many frames it would take an object to fall on the moon and on the Earth in a certain number of frames at a certain distance. Again, it doesn't change. So here we have astronauts jumping for various reasons, locomotion, fun, who knows. Thomas jumping in the bay, but obviously no jumping in the first three, and I could locate endlessly in the A-17 here. And of course, they had the astronauts on wires, so in my analysis, their gravity was always accurate to the moon. This was a frames per second combo with wires. And based on the equation you saw earlier, about 46% of the weight was taken up by the wires. And so, quite the same as the wire simulation, they used this weight quality, or excuse me, lower weight quality. But of course, combined with the frames per second, which was 44, they always fell at the exact right speed. Here we can monitor at the top of the head. It doesn't matter what part of the astronaut you match. You look at as long as you can clearly designate where it is at the beginning and ending of the jump. Here, also, it can be beginning the jump to the apex where it stops going up, or at the apex down, or starts going down to where it lands. If you question my choices on these, there's not much you can do about that, but it was as accurate as it could be. You can see it matched up the astronaut to the graphic based on where the feet were located, and if they're leaning forward at the top of the pack, is where the top is, and you see the motion as they lean over. That's a very accurate practice when you do a motion with the astronaut's head, and based on where the astronaut is located in the suit, high level, down middle of the visor, and how much more about that, determine what the height was. And so, of course, these are all raw in my factor change, but not if you include wire work. And here, of course, they're great every time. What it does do is should provide confidence in my method here. It's almost always on. I think one earlier on was yellow, that meant it was off by a frame. I only found one other occasion where my analysis something was off by a frame, but because of other tricks with the frames per second, dropping frames, and so forth, you can see why that might be the case. Sometimes to stabilize the footage, you can see in the top left corner a reference of the actual footage, and then how I'm modifying the footage, you can determine based on the differences. Now getting dropped in front of objects, there's quite a few. This is really one of the significant things that led me to proceed forward with this analysis, is I found so many opportunities to measure the gravity. You just saw the classic hammer and feather, but that was one of many. So with us in here. And they live in the moon, literally, in the last missions. And quite a few opportunities to be clumsy, either walking around the wires, running around the wires, and acting very comfortable on the moon, where it's a very dangerous environment. So I won't obviously analyze all of these. They're not all easily analyzable. You can show you after the presentation the footage to see which ones to some way as yellow, those are the ones that I could not conclude, and you can take a closer look at those yourself and see if you can find something different. And here we go, which height, you can see that should be 23. Modify the frame length factor to create that. You can see the difference as I show them side by side. Here we go, side by side. You can see the modified one definitely was slower as it should on the boom. And there's my factor 5.4 down there, and it was correct. And don't go, you can always repeat these, pause, replay, if you want to see it again. I really showed them to make the difference clear. It was 22 in footage. I modified to make it 30. Here you see them side by side. This is something I earlier. It's 8:14. You can see really an incredible distortion. It's really incredible how they try to hide. Makes footage itself is also terrible to look at in slow motion, the percentage speed, but the speed makes it worse. So it was 21 in the raw footage here. 31 modified is correct. See the difference? Should be 31 at that height. There's quite a bit of difference at 10 frames, so I'm talking frame rate here. And my footage was 12, which was correct. I say my footage, my modified version of footage, based on the frames per second factor. 21, 30, you can see the difference on slower takes, those longer takes, and my those long rates are. Some of these are it's very questionable, but it always plays out. It's correct in mine. It's way off in the moon. ESO footage and modified, and you can see the difference. So I'm just running through these again and again and again. It just keeps going on. You can look at these more closely. I just want to present them to you, and you can do your own more careful analysis of my analysis, which you should do. I would like you to spend the time to confirm what I've discovered here. Here I took the astronaut and then I moved the graph, measurement graph, to where the action indicator bars are when the frames hit. You see it turn red, and notice that already. And it gives you references the same size as my astronaut graphic. I just moved it separately. So the astronaut graphic is there to establish an accurate sizing or measurement, and then the overlay graphic is moved to more accurately show the distance you have to travel in the frames. Every time it's about 2/3 difference there. It's 2/3 as many frames as it should be, and then I'm corrected every time. But let me correct that statement almost every time. I'll show you why statement. It was not correct. There's some tricky levels to correct this footage. This is quite extraordinary. Looking at it now. I'm learning this step one. It says yellow 15 is not my frame. That's minor. It's not really an issue. It's discussed. There's frame dropping. There are all kinds of tricks going on to disguise what was happening here. When you see the yellow graph there, it just means I've done some stabilization, and I put that there as a reference. This hand, usually hand does stabilization enough that we can measure. Here you can see less distortion fairly obviously because I'm stabilizing. And you same objects in the background to get stored in the same proceed edge of the frame. Now these are the past one and this one are really extraordinary things. What's happening here is it's wrong in my footage. I was like, why is that? I realized they did a frame adjustment. Notice the factor change at the bottom. 0.41 was 0.54, 0.41 back to 0.54. They changed the factor during the throw, the object movement, to simulate the move proper speed. And jump back and you can't tell. There are many opportunities for this. In this, I have a little section on speed change events. You can see how often they use that technique to disguise their methods. Again, you can see factor change. This is a hard one because the camera's moving so much, but it's clear for me. You can see I have multiple versions of the graph. So girls, one is in the background. You can see two moving astronauts because I'm trying to have myself far when I do the factor change in once. 0.41. Why 0.41? Because that's you take Earth's film at normal speed and you have to multiply the film speed length by 0.41 to achieve simulated blue gravity. And that will be explained further later in the analysis presentation. That is wrong. Watch the 0.41 change. There it is, and then change back. Here it is. It's going to happen again. 0.41. Unless you're waiting the bottom, you don't notice these changes. Because they could do them on these, they did. They didn't do it every time, so that's what I found was wrong. Think of all the movement taking place. Look at the factor change timing. It's amazing that it works so well. He's running at his full motion and his speed change right in the middle. You can see the extreme popping and mugging out of the footage. Here's the classic event. They did drink that one too. That's the obvious one. Now we get to the sand. Basically, when I did my analysis, I looked through all the footage several times. And anytime I found sand falling, I marked it, separated it as a clip. So here I'm presenting every time I found sand falling. However, when I do the analysis, you see I limited to the ones that I felt I could analyze. Because of the marking of the image, and especially sand, separates. Once you get a clear indication of when it starts and stops, going up or going down, you can't really analyze. Sometimes you don't need where it stops, you just need enough frames that you can say, I've seen it move. And again, as we get further missions, A-17, not always the case, but has more. A-16 and A-17 are almost always the jewels of the missions for analyzing footage. there's a graph astronaut measuring. Here you saw the sand fall. You can see when it starts, when it stops. It's wrong. It says 31 frames. Showing clearly where it begins, where it ends. It should take 40 frames. Now I'm confident in my discerning when this thing starts to fall, the edge, front edge, when it hits the ground. And it's going to my place. Very blurry, very difficult. I would go back and forth and see changes on the ground, or wherever I could discern when the same hit, even if it's off by a frame or two. That's minor compared to the differences we're seeing here. Here you can see a difference when I stop before it hit the ground. I can really clear where it hit the ground. But you can analyze it at any point during the fall if you want and say stop here. The rate is the same. Others frames. Again, please notice the clip is referenced at the bottom. You can go to the NASA site referenced earlier in the presentation and look at the evidence yourself and determine for yourself what's going on in the footage. You do realize how many times we're seeing things fall at the wrong speed in the NASA footage. This is not a fluke. This is clear evidence of Sigma-Dream's fate. This is an interesting one. I had to determine where the top of the instrument was, and then to help aid myself in the analysis, I used one of my gravity balls. And you can see it matches up and doesn't match up according to my analysis in the expected times. Here is the top of the sand. Here is the top that falls. And you can see it disappearing. That's a great time to determine when it starts and stops falling. He did a lot of showing, so I have a lot of opportunities to measure what's wrong every time. of course, they do the same thing they did with the foreign objects. Whenever they could, they did a speed change event. Factor change to frames per second change to hide that this is fake footage. There's only a few of those. I find these very interesting, where the astronauts jumping at the same time sand is falling, and you can clearly see the sand falls faster. This is the moon speed NASA, aka NASA imagery. Look how high the sand gets and it hits the ground before the astronaut does. They should be falling at exactly the same speed. That's what the Hammond effect was all about. It doesn't matter what object you draw on the same line, they land at the same time because there's no atmosphere to slow down the more air-resistant objects. So here the sand is up with speed and it totally clears out below them and then he lands. These are the famous jumps, and they're the more obvious ones to me. Sand is up there with his feet. Sand is up there with his feet, and then clearly he's falling as fast as Earth gravity. He's falling slower because he's hanging from wire. Here we'll go through the speed change events. These are when the film factor, frames per second on their end was changed midstream. When we're looking at the footage that is, they did it quite often when we weren't looking at astronauts. And here we have examples where while we're watching the astronauts move around, they change the frames per second for various reasons. Quite often, early on, they did it whenever the astronaut came close to camera. And you'll see, as you saw earlier when I disclosed the frames per second they used, they didn't slow them down as much when they were close to camera or doing detailed action, because then it looked too ridiculous. So they had to make it look more normal, as if they were behaving more normally with their hands, for instance. When they're farther away from camera, they gotta wait more. But as they ran the camera, for some reason they thought they should be moving faster when they got close to the camera. So they did a lot of that. Sometimes they did it oddly. I'm not sure why they made the decisions they made, but they did. They thought it was necessary. Lewis and Brownie were right. Although I think one of the main reasons they've succeeded so far for 45 years is no one's fully analyzed the footage as I have. For the most part, it's been accessed, but thanks to the internet, I had access, I found it, and I decided to look at all of it. And what I found was amazing. And we're going to go these events. If you watch the factor at the bottom of the footage, you can see it change midstream. Sometimes they're significant, sometimes they're not. I'm showing you all the ones I found. However, in the presentation reveal, I will only show the more significant ones. So you can see A15 is the wear on this one. You can see it already, most of them. Okay, he runs away from camera, but he's running. This is my change. You can see the factor change at the bottom, and he looked like he was normal. You can't see the change unless you look at the factor at the bottom. Here's the NASA footage. He's running the same as the live footage because there's no change in line, and then something's running slow motion. You're not really going to notice that unless you. Why did I notice it? Because I did this factor multiplied 4, you look ridiculous, and then you look wrong. So I also saw the footage of that factor, analyzed it, and found out where I had made speed changes. Here's another example. It seems the same thing. Their speed, what they did is establish early on, and here it's already bringing the same speed and watch. It's called and here I found it, he looks ridiculous and he looks normal. Okay, again, bringing the camera, since he gets close, there's a big speed change. That was a significant one, 0.718. Here's their version. And you can even see the speed change there. They found moments where his foot hits or he jolts or something that the speed changes. Again, coming the camera, I believe he grabs the camera here, shifts it, you can see the rubber, but look at that. Almost 0.9, there's a 615, the MP with motion blur. I have motion blur to help smooth out the action, maybe speed up film. Sometimes it looks steady because you lack motion blur. So here's their version. Look how fast he's going. So then he slows down. My assumption is as they were watching the footage when they generated it, is the AZ looks too slow to camera and speed line. Here it is at my 0.54 factor. And as I was analyzing footage, I said, what? I look like a clown. The same trick again. Quite a few times he thought it was necessary. It was hardly noticeable. Of course, you speed up the footage, and look. There's this theory that somehow brought back in time, the footage goes back in time forward again. I don't think that has ever in any legitimate footage, ever in the history of footage, except on the left. So, I'm not saying changes here, did you? Or the subtle changes in slow motions, but when I was looking at here, it was fast. And he did just look better. I'm sure I missed many times exactly what the changes are they made. I just think the most obvious ones, the ones that stuck out to me. That was the change in the middle. Here is the company looks really fast, and then seems to go decent speed. Next. So here we are at the standard 0.615 on rover activity, and it changes the lead on way. That was the spasm if you didn't notice. is that my constant factor, there's a spasm. You don't notice it here. It was proper at 6.615 earlier, and it wasn't proper. I had to find the time to change as they became standard practice. When I near the rover, find the factor that works, and as they are farther away, the different factor, and so forth. So I just look for the opportunities to change so that I probably most likely did not nail it precisely every time, but did enough to show that it occurred. Without boring this footage, it's amazing at very low speed. I wonder if no one wants to look at this. If you want to go to sleep, look at NASA footage. Why? Because it's in slow motion. You can't bear to watch yourself do it in slow motion all the time. It's absurd. So again, my standard way of showing this to you is my determined way that it was the factor that needs to be utilized. There's a speed change. And then I show you the NASA footage. And then I show you the constant factor that I first created, and which was revealed that there was a problem. And I had to do speed change adjustments. So I have to leave the footage if you want due diligence. I had to go through this process so it's clear what's going on. Here's the constant factor. This one is an example, but not obvious. There's the speed change between 0.57 and 0.54, not dramatic. But it's a great example of how the astronaut's in full motion. He hits the ground, starts doing stride, some kind of change that allows him to hide the factor change. Okay, now we get to, I find very interesting, the slow motion aspect. As you can see, the Hobbit and Johnny, extraordinary amount. They did a lot of movement on the moon. The footage, the extent to which these missions were supposed to have taken place is really crazy. And the amount of running and hopping they did in this very dangerous environment is irresponsible, to say the least. But I've categorized them here. You can see them coming out of camera, going away from camera, hopping to left and right, and so at the full resolution of this, you can discern which ones interest you the most, look at them, but there's so many. Here I am analyzing them because the factor changed versus the NASA version. NASA version, obviously slow motion. Anyone in the dial at this point is fooling themselves and we should stop. And you saw earlier in the summary that normal, and this looks slow motion. slow motion. You can see that in the back trying to regain his balance, and here he is trying to regain balance. Slow motion. That's just an ancillary to the back running the camera. But you'll see more of that in the stubble section. Here he's walking. I actually find walking more revealing than the hopping and jogging, because it just looks like a guy walking, even with the wires on their back, holding their butt. And when you compare it to the wire footage in the wire section, you can see it's much closer in action to the guy not on wires than it is the guy on the full moon simulation wires, which just has him sideways. And these are all short clips. When we do the reveal, you see long clips, and it's almost laughable. So here they all are together. You can see it, what I consider normal speed. Even in this crappy footage, you can see the guy walking normally, but he's kind of stumbling, he's hanging on his wire, and he's walking. This is a great example of this loaded suit, which you can see below the suit section. See more of an explanation of what's going on there. I love this one. Look, he's just walking on the moon. And of course, this is the vector change. You can see the vector change. We just saw a 0.54. This is a 0.57. This is more detailed action. This is, I think, incredible. I mean, you would have walked over rocks on a hill, on a hike, and you're maintaining your balance while doing that, and there, you just do a little stutter. It's amazing. This looks like all guys walking in the desert. A little odd because 46% of their weight is being lifted up by the wires. And I'm sure the packs on the back aren't as heavy as they were supposed to be in the moon packs, because they're not really on the moon. It doesn't have to do anything it's supposed to do. You can see the camera is almost constantly moving, very slow and it's still. And all kinds of things going on to keep it busy and keep you from figuring out what's going on, keeping it noisy and cloudy. This is great. Look, he's just walking. This one too. Just walking over the rocks. See those slow moments of him catching his balance. just in a step. I find the stumbling also very revealing. Catching your balance, trying not to land on your head. Instinctively, we all move quickly to prevent catastrophic damage to ourselves. And there's not much you can do about it. It's just reaction speed, natural. And here at the Tiger Change versions, you can see them performing these normal jerks and very quick adjustments not to fall on their heads. Whereas in the balloon speed, you'll see it's obviously slow motion. Absolutely seems again as good as the sand as oil in it. Keep it from dusting. Quite sad. Well, I won't look at all of them, but we will look at a lot of them. There's the moon speed. Some of the items are noticeable as odd, and the moon speed as a percentage versions because you don't accept the action as what it really is. But this, some of these are just clearly slow motion. How anyone could accept them as anything else is not really reasonable. through that. Surely you know that when waves on earth, this is just slow motion. And there's no reason for them to even be slower. When you look at the wire analysis footage, later on you'll see them behaving differently. The oncoming and simulated with gravity. So as far as I just found this as I was looking, what are they doing with these weird jerks? And it's, someone being pulled off balance suddenly unexpectedly and snapping the game. Why is that happening? Well, it's probably because the backpack, we all want backpacks, so all of us who have, we're ready for it. It's when someone pulls on us or something snags us that we didn't expect. There was a momentary off balance, even if we weren't going to fall, we respond as if we were. And there's no ourselves. They're being pulled up by a wire. The wire is actually pulling up on them. And unexpectedly, maybe there's some tension, or something happens, or it pulls in a way they don't expect. And they react to it and adjust to regain their balance. And it's also possible that for whatever reason, it feels like it's not pulling up as much, and they're not as supported, they feel like they're going to fall forward, so they snap back. Because more likely, they're resting on this wire quite often. They're relying on it, they're resting on it, they're actually laying it, lift them up so they don't feel as heavy and they can hop on you. Here's some miscellaneous slow motion events. We're looking at a lot here. I think they're significant. They're not categorized in other ways as hopping, jogging, walking, etc. They had notebooks on their arms, and here you see moving slow motion. A few examples. Looking at the book, him, the various astronauts, and I believe the astronauts are the ones, the actual Apollo astronauts are the ones in these suits. And give them the experience, quote unquote, being on the moon. So they talk about it later, that's something real to talk about. But here you can see the sped up versions, the factor adjusted versions, it was normal. Just turn pages. Here we pop up a rig, here he's doing it at massive speed, we pops up a rig slowly. Who does that? Then it pops up quickly. That was a hammer throw, or a hammer throw. You can look at those at massive speeds. Here, look, right, looks normal, adjusting, checking the tape, which it is, and here is a little slower. The factor wasn't as different here. It was different, but not nearly as much. So, still looks slow there, but doesn't look nearly as real as the fast version. Banging bar, here, shaking it, and banging it slowly. Look at all the front frames, pop frames, and stuff they got going on here, but even so, it was like shuffling these sliding down papers, wherever they are, and here, slower. Not so bad because the factor wasn't adjusted as much, but what we just saw, the factor change one looked natural. This one looks close to natural. Scratching his ass if I was funny, I put it in there. Watch this. Can't catch the flag, but now can't catch it in slow motion. Popping the flag, straighten it out. What was that? You don't do that to a flag to straighten it out. You pop it. Testing it here, testing it slowly. Taking up the wheel of duct tape actually did that damage the wheel bearing for whatever reason, and now he's taking up the duct tape in normal motion here at the 6.5 factor. Sticking holes in the ground. Looks normal. Sifting sand. Slow motion sifting sand. Sifting sand again. Several other times there. Actually, this was just he was popping the wire to see the tension look normal. Back to version. Here you see some rocks rolling. Drinking wherever. You can look more closely at those. When you're on rocks of normal. Rolling in factor speed. Here he's pulling. Some cart. 814. That's before the rover. It's handheld. Factor change. It's normal. Getting into the rover in the tube times I thought was occurring. You can see it right that has some black chest camera. We're still trying to hear he's taking hold. Except for the weird stuttering they incorporated here. Looks like someone taking home on Earth with a tiny shovel. There's a lot of this because I think it's important to watch this and see how consistently it's been factor version. So that we've looked at the footage extensively, we're going to move forward and examine how they did it. One of the first things we should look at is the film gauges and how it was utilized to make this happen. Film gauges refers to the size of the film, 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter, 70 millimeter, as well as others, double 70 IMAX. Depends if the film was sideways, vertical, it was used to capture. And then how those compare to each other. Basically, if you use a large film format like the IMAX, you can use smaller and recapture it using an optical printer and have plenty of resolution for the smaller format. I believe the Apollo footage, TV camera footage, was originally captured in 16 millimeter and then optically printed of sorts TV camera. It transfers the TV to video, in other words. And here you can see the difference in resolution. Clearly, plain resolution 16. And on set, it was probably rated so that it was underground or transferred by a wire. The TV camera had fiber optics in it. It's very similar to the endoscope. The lens is on one end of the fiber optic. The light moves through the fiber optic to whatever's receiving light, the other end, for instance, film, and that allows it to travel distances. That explains why we have this lens distortion on the side, more than the lenses themselves. So this was all captured on a set, a huge set, multiple sets. There was probably a set for every location they went to. Possibly reused, rebuilt, but they were highly accurate, built on satellite imagery captured for the Apollo program. Highly detailed, highly accurate imagery. How big were the sets? Well, they weren't as big as the entire location visible in the scenery, the images, and the footage. That would be absurd. It's also to move, if you could. So how big were they? Well, the deep reducing, was it everything you saw? Was it just enclosed mountains? Still too big. What's the magical head being closed? Was it this small? No. I'm guessing around this big, 300 meters diameter, somewhere in that range. And then the background was the backdrop of sorts that you hear used in the movies, a very sophisticated one. This was an enclosed environment with a backdrop. The backdrop was projected with highly accurate model imagery created that matched the set. Everything was highly accurate to what the moon looked like, as accurate as possible. And then the higher detail was made up based on what they saw. There were advanced satellites, landers sent to the moon, unmanned. They took pictures and they used that as reference. The projection method was photographs of the model with soft boundaries and mosaic together, just like the panoramic images, which we'll learn about. Because of the nature of the moon, the grayscale, the boundaries are fairly easy to do. Here you can see mountains in Cinerama. It's very similar to Cinerama technology from the 60s, well known by Douglas Trumbull. And here you can barely see the boundaries in the sky. You can't see them at all. You can only see them because you know they're there. And you use a little more attention, you can improve them. At the bottom, you can't see them here. At the top, you can. Here you can see the size of this projection compared to the audience. This is a graph of the setup. There's 3 projectors. This is similar, but not necessarily how it was accomplished on the moon set. But they had a camera on the model, turning around, taking pictures around the location. And what the projection allowed them to do was change the image on the backdrop as they needed. And these are huge projections, but that's not a difficult thing. As you can see, these are moving projectors. The backdrops on the moon set were still images. Here is the calibration for the 3 projectors. They were projected and used that to calibrate the placement of the images on the screen. And then they did that for the backdrop. This is an example of the moon model. And you can see the lighting. You have multiple lights, not one light like the sun. And there is a boundary, but it's barely noticeable on this very simplistic model. And this is not an uncommon thing. You can see it's the Star Wars and they had a backdrop for their Hoth scene, and that's because it's all white snow, mountains. It's not hard to make that look real enough, especially if it's on the moon. No one's seen it before, and it's just grayscale images. This is a real Apollo set built outside. That's a giant rig that holds up the lunar modules so they can practice landing the thing. It's a cheap, this is hanging from wires, so it's not going to flip over. There's doubts the thing would actually work. Here you see it's cheesy looking set because it doesn't have all the detail that was thrown in. It looks like a model, but I sped up so we don't have to see it. You're watching the whole thing. You can find it online. But it's an example of a large set with craters built. They do much more sophisticated, reasonable implementation for the host, obviously. And sometimes I think they do these kinds of footage to make throw people off. Oh, this is the best we can do. It's the best you can do, really. So here we have examples of maps of these locations of the landings. It is generated from satellite imagery and highly analyzed. Highly analyzed. Here you can see the scale is 500 meters. So you see this kind of striping that's for the satellite passes, multiple passes, and we're probably not seeing the full resolution they had access to. Here is about the scale of the set I'm saying. The size is, you can see you've got undulations there, you've got plenty, even fake rocks, and smaller craters. That's what you need to do. Who's going to know better? Even today, they don't have satellite imagery that gives any more detail than that, unbelievably. It's really reproduction. And here you can see the analyzation of the imagery grid. For reproduction, you can use grids of great for reproduction and smaller grids. Here's an extraordinary thing. In Cider, Arizona, they used explosives to create craters based on ranges and ejecta and so forth. And this is an accurate reproduction, life size of the moon's surface to a large degree. There's the actual satellite imagery on the right. There's the striping again from the satellite passes that were joined together, mosaic. And on the left is the reproduction, life size, and that's a huge reproduction, but not as big as the set, I believe, they created for doing the fake footage. But this is an extraordinary thing. It shows you the accuracy of the mapping they had and their ability to reproduce it. Here is a computer model based on the mapping that Bell Labs created, and they used it to plan out where they would go with the rover, the slopes too steep and so forth, and why not use it to plan out vantage points for cameras and so forth, what you want to see, what you don't want to see, where it's going to be problematic, and to plan out the sets. Everything was in place, full simulation program, full mapping program to create these sets highly accurately and much better than anything that was actually used in the Apollo training program. And this is supporting documentation for those Bell computer images. These are diverse maps. That means where they went. You can see the limb location. This is Apollo 11. They didn't go very far from the limb. They show points where they went to. Those funny little circles are craters. And you can see Apollo 14 here. They actually went farther out and locations where things happened. But these 500 meters, 1,000 meters here. And it's not as far as you may think. However, in 15, 16, 17, they actually went kilometers, literally 2 kilometers down below as a reference. They drove pretty far, supposedly, and there are various locations. You can see EVA 1, EVA 2. That means which day they went out, because they went on 1 EVA each day. Where certain subpoints are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wherever they stopped and filmed with the rover they had set. So someone can do their due diligence and discover how many sets they probably created. This is my simulation, just mock up again. Here we are at a landing location. This is a set reproduction, so to speak. We've got a foreground, actual sand, and in the background is the backdrop. And you'll find it's very similar to much of the footage you've seen already. And if you look more closely, you'll see later. And they have multiple lights, but they're flagged off, meaning blocking their light shining on the camera, and they overlap softly. So because of the undulation of the surface, you would never backdrop, as you can see, and this is the set without the backdrop. I think very revealing. This is where they were. And bringing the backdrop with my colorful grid so you get a sense of the wall. Because of the nature of the moon surface, you lose distance, perception, and so forth. So we got away with a lot of that. It helped them, in other words, because you can't tell how far away, and no one was moving anyway. So, and none of the footage was used for measurements. You can't use it. There's no reference to exactly where you are. So any discrepancy can be so off as we don't know where the camera was. With no GPS, they don't know exactly where it was. So here we are. And so the model is used to create the imagery in the background and identical reproduction on a different scale for the set, sand, and so forth. There's a hole in the wall needed to put the blank part back to avoid diverging shadow. And here I show you where we take away the set and we're left with just the model. And of course, the astronaut disappears too. It's different. It's not going to match up perfectly. And you'll find that later on when we look at the landing footage. But it's close enough, certainly, for this. Photographically, they almost definitely modified the photographs they did with the model to match with the set, and or modified the set to match with the photograph so the edge boundary was seamless, color-wise, luminosity-wise, and so forth. They may even adjusted it with the lights because no one's going to know that it's slightly off from what it would actually be. And here we zoom in on the set again so that you can get a sense of how this was built. And if they were on set and they moved the location of the camera, they just changed the imagery that was projected on the wall. With their model, they could shoot from any location they wanted and create a circular set of imagery. Here we have panoramic images generated by NASA from astronauts. They did what I call a panorama dance, where they did this odd little dance in a circle as they bent their knees and tilted the camera up because they used one where they could change the vertical aiming of the camera. And they had quite a few panoramic images here, some multiple ones from some sets and single ones from other sets. And so this is another tool for enterprising young people to more fully recreate the sets that we used. I'm separating them here. The top ones I won't be looking at, the bottom ones I will be looking at. We only have to look at some to get a sense of how these support the locations actually being sets and its limitation of photography and distance differentiation, distance limitation of photography. These are the ones that we're looking at. And you can see I'm doing a fake rotation at the top, basically just scanning the panoramic image, which is essentially almost like spinning the camera in a circle. These are straight from NASA. I've done no modification other than the graphs you see me putting on top and so forth. This is kind of obvious what I've done. And so you can see the photographic differences, changes as the astronaut leaves turn. Here I'm showing that they support it being on a set. There's nothing about these that say they could not be on a set. There's nothing about them that says they definitely were on a set and that's the advantage of the photographic limitations and the nature of the moon landscape. It's just gray. Light, shadow, undulating surface. You can't tell, there's no trees to tell you which direction the shadows are going, the lighting is changing, there's no atmosphere to show you distances. It's a very, very simple set, which makes it very, very easy to simulate. They have hills here, but there's no problem creating hills on set. You use wood, understructure, or dirt. These are simple things to do, it's not a big deal. And these are enclosed sets, they have to be enclosed to control the environments and open gusts and so forth. That's going to be a tent. It's not a big deal to create a large structure like that. And the only thing above them has to be a crane, a simplistic crane holding up the astronauts' wires. So that was a far location, looked like we were looking so far out there. It's just a simple set with a blend to the backdrop that is not simple. This is one more simple. We're actually behind the limb. You can see they always go down on the shadow side, and here you see the sunny side. So they did most of the action on the dark side, shadow side. Here we're in a little dip, and that's an easy thing to. We're probably at the edge of the set here. And the main part of the set is on the other side of the limb. This is the same footage, I believe, where you see the rover driving around, and you'll see a reverse angle of this. This is the reverse angle. There's the limb, which is on the other side. You can see it's kind of in a hole there. This is where the rover was driving around. And there's the rover. There's the lens flare that happens once you get light from a light source almost directly enters the lens. And lots of trash. They like to trash the moon. And look behind the lens, there's nothing. And in stereo photography, a little later, you'll see all this is supported by the depth perception. It goes flat for a certain distance. Real or fake. Looks like we're looking past the hill, and its distance is back there. It's easily reproducible on the set with the projected backdrop. Technology they utilize, there's a right line. I'm not saying these are exactly where the sets ended. I'm saying these could be where the sets ended and it would work. It would take quite extensive analysis of all the footage captured at one location to find out more precisely where the set ended and the backdrop began, what was implemented. And I would love to see that if someone enterprising set people or a young person goes through that trouble, at least with one set, a neat thing to see. Here we are, craters, building a crater, sure, not a big deal, a bunch of dirt piled up, wood, accurately model it, and you put some kind of hard surface on top, and then you cover it with sand. I imagine they printed it with sand of sort in the sense that they had some kind of spray or at the top spraying colored sand and patterns based on how they said they had to be recreated. They did the same thing on the model. You just find out how you can recreate it by projecting spraying sand, paint, what have you, and here is all the sand. And they did it in layers, darker sand underneath if you needed, lighter sand on top. They went through the trouble of figuring out how many layers, patterns of putting certain colored sand down and so forth, and rocks, and maybe more sand on top of the rocks. And I'd love to see how they specifically design the manufacturing process, but it's not certainly not doesn't come close to being human capability. So it looks like there are hills in the background, and it's hard to see before, but now after we remove the hills and pan over to the right, you can see the road over there. The lens over there too, it's difficult to see because the lens flare. So because the nature of the background, right, it looks like you're looking at a huge landscape. You're looking at a circle. If you wrap one end over to the other, it'd be like a cylinder, and that's more accurately what you're looking at. Which is why I did the cropped version, the panning. Right? We're actually not panning per se. We are reproducing what the astronaut did, which is he stood in one place and turned around within a circle. It's fun. These are interesting landscapes, very cool looking, but they're reproduced moon topology. And the more specific details of every rock and so forth, perhaps they had highly detailed imagery that would be a smart thing, but they had the limitations that was all made up. And we haven't gotten any kind of highly detailed reproduction of the actual location from telescopes or satellites since this time. Again, another faraway landscape, but it's just a set with a backdrop. The crater, we see the left edge on the right side, right edge on the left side. And we get to stereo photography. The three ways of doing stereo, there's that I've chosen, there's the red green where I combine it, you need glasses. There's divergence where you put a cardboard between the two images, so only the left eye sees the left image and the right eye sees the right image. And there's convergence where you can cross your eyes and until the features match up and let your brain merge the two. And at the top left, I tell you which one you're currently doing. I'm showing you all three. It's an opportunity. I suggest you pause as you want to see one and look carefully at these. The yellow arrow shows you where the split line is, and you can definitely see. Certainly, some these are panoramic images of the lab, so they're not ideal. I did modify them in any way to maybe rotate and scale a little bit so they more closely match, but it's good enough that you can see there's a flat plane after a certain distance, and stereo, my understanding is stereo after 30 feet, the human eyes 2 inches apart cannot discern any kind of divergence, meaning details look like they're no longer stereo. You move your head, of course, that changes, but you're changing what you've just established. You're standing still and looking at a feature, and after 30 feet, you're not going to see any stereo, no divergence. And that serves them well because that ain't very far. Now, the way the astronauts turn, it's possible there's more than 2 inches between the images as far as where the camera was when it took the images, and perhaps they can go further, but it's not going to go 100 meters before it flattens out. And none of this imagery shows it going that far. You can see it'll go very far before it goes flat. So the stereo images are certainly not proof it was on the moon, and they support that it was a set. Not proof it was on a set, but they support it. Some of them are extraordinary, and we'll get to those at the end. You'll see that it looks like you're looking at a flat surface going into the distance, and then, like in stereo, there's a wall. It's the limitations of stereography, and or it's a wall. And the split is not necessarily moving figures. You can look and see, and look at the stereo and see where the split is. Look how close it is to us. And never go very far in front of the camera. Looks like you're looking into a valley, but you're looking at a short set and a beautiful backdrop. We're looking down a hill. We don't go very far before we lose our steady. These are extraordinary. Look how close it is to us before it's flat. Here's another one, incredibly close. The other amazing thing that happens is your brain seems indicators of dimensionality created for you, but it's not really there. If you look carefully, you'll see. The photographing was not designed for stereo. It was designed for panorama. So I almost did very little stereo photography. I did detail images on the ground. So this is using information photography in an unintended way and do our best to extract information from it. This is a slight overlap, not nearly the overlap of the others. You can still see the split lines very close. This one could have been a model, and it's a zoom in of a background. There's no stereo here that I can tell. If there is, there should be. Zoom in doesn't change stereo. This is from the top of the lens. There's hardly any stereo to know other than the difference between lens and ground. This is an example of taking from two different locations. So you kind of extract some stereo. It looks like it's dimensional in the background. And that shows, oh, it's two different angles on the background. And that's quite possible, but that was done by changing the image that was projected on the background. Shot from the model is three-dimensional. Change the images based on where the astronauts are on the set, and you get an accurate image of that. So the astronauts are hanging from wires. We'll discuss that here. It's there's huge backpack, so forth. Here's the suit laid out. I think pretty much, possibly post-launch. You can see on the right, I'm seeing research on this on the internet. You can see the fancy infrastructure. It's going to be pressurized and well, some movement. Here's some diagrams explaining what all the parts of the suits are and whether or not these were used on the set. They could be modified, certain pack, which will go over here, was probably modified, it may have not been made metal, it could have been, so you didn't have to do all this stuff. More likely, you could pressurize the suits a little bit, as well as being water in there. Apparently, astronauts testing the suits on Earth, they still had coolant in there, but they didn't need to do so much oxygen feeding because they were in oxygen-filled set. And I imagine they took as much weight off the astronauts as they could so that they felt a little more humble. Here we have a reporter showing how the suits came off, and we're just speeding it up so you get a sense of everything that was involved. Now that outer structure is connected to the outer garment there, so here we see the outer structure. Here's this wire set just on the summary. For some reason the pack is sideways. This is the same structure that was used for the LIM, I believe, testing that we saw earlier on the FITSAT, models and so forth. And here we are, we're looking down at vantage points. You can see the gentleman top of their head walking along with them. This is the extraordinary length you have to go to simulate gravity. That's the difference. It's such a significant difference. It's so much less than Earth. They have to be practically sideways to simulate it. You can see the ground is tilted slightly, and here he is jumping on his sideways set. And this is all simulated. You can see how he's strapped in, and it's fairly effective. You can see the right way of doing it, but certainly not completely accurate. However, look at the extraordinary ability this light gravity gives him. He doesn't have the full suit on here, he doesn't have the backpack, but we'll see a little bit of that later. It's still amazing what he can land on his hands and without effort. We don't see any of this on the moon in the NASA footage. Almost nothing like this. Look, he lands on his hands, extraordinary. Here we are in the pressurized suit. We're going to see tests where the suit is actually pressurized. You can see the comparison between the two. Essentially the same setup. He's getting rigged into place. And you'll see a comparison between Earth gravity condition, which means no wires, and he's standing straight up, and the moon condition, we're looking down on him sideways. And look at the left. Looks like it has more heat. Factor change, which doesn't have right, it's floating. Our guy's not floating at all. Why is he floating? Because 83% of his weight is taken up, whereas he can't run, right? Because there's no friction. He's so light now, he can't get any friction with his feet. On the left, on Earth, you see more. These are both pressurized suits. Not fully pressurized, that is my understanding, but close enough to mimic the limitations the suit would provide. Effortless flip. He lands on his hands without problem. I saw no kind of agility like this in our lunar footage. See every time they fall, look how floaty the legs are. They practically don't want to go down. This is some silly gravity tests on you to land with all the cables there on them. Again, I think sometimes this was produced to show all of what it takes to do a fire simulation. And it takes nothing like that. This is the Vomit Comet Planet's parts, skies, like gravity, weightless, here's moon gravity. He takes a FaceTime on purpose to test the helmet.
The movement, because of the restrictions of the spacesuit, was basically like being in slow motion.
He had problems with the backpack, so they had to redesign it because he couldn't get up. And here he is getting up. Look at how quickly he moves. It totally contradicts what Aldrin just said, which was his excuse for the slow motion. Pretty blatant. And look how floaty he is. He can barely stay on the ground. He's got a backpack, fully pressurized suit. He's struggling to keep his feet on the ground. This is amazing. There's nothing like that in the footage. And where was the wire located? One wire. It's quite sure right in the middle. And right in the middle both ways from front and side. And it was made up of monofilament. Perhaps braided, perhaps it was metal monofilament, whatever it is, short on camera. Douglas Trump will talk about that. It's not uncommon. Look at the size of that. That's tiny. 5 millimeters left to right. That thing is it's tiny. So having this not show up on camera is not a big deal. Here we go through the analysis of moon gravity versus Earth gravity. I come up with equations that, based on the frame rate, you can use a specific counterweight that allows the astronaut to fall at the same rate they would on the moon when viewed through the closely. I put it all here in front of you. And if you're not interested, I know it was tough for me to come up with this, so I know it's, even now, to go back through it, it's not intuitive, and you have to really look at every bit of it and see if there's a problem. Otherwise, getting into this is not easy. So I don't blame you if you're not interested. You can go past this to the next section. But it shows you that at any frame rate you choose, you can come up with a counterweight that holds the astronaut up to allow them to fall properly, so that combined with their counterweight and the frame rate you chose, it will fall at the speed when viewed on film. And you'll see 59 frames per second at 0%. That means you can fill at that rate, 24 frames per second, and it will look like it's flying at the rate of the moon. And here's our master rate, 44 frames per second. You can see 44.6%. I mentioned 46% earlier, 44.6% of the counting rate. Here it is summarized what is necessary for each frame per second. 48 frames per second was not used, I just used as a benchmark here. Here we have some examples of what I consider elements of the wires, some odd behavior, physics behavior, astronaut behavior that, for the most part, to me is explained by having the wire pulled from above. We'll go through all the clips here. You can see all the strange behavior, and then we'll look at the clips that I think are clear examples of astronauts hanging from wires with approximately 44.6% counter rate. You can see these quick movements. If you want to quick spread up, don't send them in the air. Stay on the moon. They do a lot of that. If you watch the Obama comet footage, you see it's any kind of sudden movement. You have to be very controlled. You have to do any kind of push up, quick pushing up with legs. He was launch, same with the firework. So all these clips, these are the ones we look at. You see a lot of spinning. There's the HUD spinning because they've got that central wire going up. They're kind of using it. It's just natural. You've got these forces working on you. You kind of use them after a while. That was the HUD, right? You kind of swung back down again. The legs are not floating here. Here it is. I'm spinning a little bit. Here. Legs go right to the ground. Don't float. There's no problem keeping his feet touching the ground. Whereas in all the simulation stuff, the feet tend to stay up because they're so light. They're going full with gravity. If the wire's going, probably comes a bit back a little higher. You can see the backpack bending on this one at the top. You should look at that one again. There's another clear example later. You'll see. It's an odd balancing act being pulled up from the top. I find these interesting. You see them swaying almost in sync because they look like they're leaning a little bit, right? Because they're resting on the wire. And look up there's spasm because they're resting on the wires. And if the wire feels like the wire's not holding them up, suddenly they spasm a little bit. And they don't even realize they're resting on the wire. This is an interesting one. Los watch the astronauts sway and sink is because they're connected to the same rig at the top, meaning the same metal rigging that's holding the wires. Here it's stabilized, so it's a little more obvious. This torsion goes off a little bit, but you can see them swaying together. Because they're resting on the wires. When I pull them over, they go a little bit. You can see the backpack bending on the wire. Bending back a little bit. And sometimes they look like puppets, right? And all this pushing up and some of the movements they do, they never even fly up in the air. This one seems funny and obvious to me. So this is, you can see the dust, they said the dust was sticky, dirt, the sand was sticky because it was jagged instead of smooth like earth sand, which is absurd to me. Sand is sand, jagged or not, it's not going to stick to a suit. The reason it is sticky is because they had a minuscule amount of oil mixed in. It doesn't take much to do it, just take a tiny bit of degrease, so apply bag sand, leave a little bit of cooking oil, just mix in a few drops. A handful or even a bowl full, and you'll see that it starts to become malleable, almost like clay, and you can find the proper mixture so that it doesn't dust, meaning you can see particles fly out into the air when you kick it, but it looks like they used a lot here because you can see it's sticking to the machinery as well. So the dust was so sticky it stuck to metal. The sand, it doesn't make any sense. They call it moon dust, it's moon sand. And these are some of the clear examples, probably because they overflow on suits. Dust sand's not reflecting this dark sand, but it's problems, quote unquote, dust, sticky dust, and you see some other examples later on when I show miscellaneous set stuff, and you'll see how the sand behaves completely different. I mean, just look at that piece of equipment, it's absurd. It has so much sand stuck to it. Harry looks like he's been flaming oil. So here we get to some fancy visual effects that has to do with models and technology, rigging, and virtual reality, simulators, and so forth. And I think some visual effects breakthroughs were accomplished great here that were credited elsewhere. So the Lily rover moved quite a distance across the moon's surface, kilometers, 27 kilometers, I believe it was. Graph later showed you more. Simulator technology is utilized. It's been around for ages here, very simplistic versions. created a lunar rover simulator using flips that I think was created from the simulator. Basically, the model was done. The astronauts were put in a rig that mimicked the movement, and the cameras on the rig and filmed the footage in the background from the fake lunar module. Here's a setup of the model with a snorkel lens, and there's I think that's a data camera. It's filmed at a very low frame rate, so it looks crappy. And it's possible that the rover was animated. Here's some examples from the early 70s. John Dykstra, who was a student of Douglas Trumbull. And in the summary of this, I find this extraordinary. Every time I see it, I find it extraordinary how real it was and how tiny a model was used to generate it. It's just blows my mind. Look at this photo camera. This is a moving across a tiny, tiny fake road and creating something incredibly realistic in this low resolution footage. There's the rig, the camera rig. It's all motion control. It's used extensively in visual effects today. And this is used to city planning or something. I don't know if you ever do this, but this is an extraordinary setup. And the time it took to build these models, I don't know. The team is just really extraordinary. And especially when you get to just the nature footage in the end, where it's not in the background. This is with atmosphere and everything. You can imagine when the moon's at how realistic, and you made it 3 times as big as that. This is a flight simulator camera sideways pointing at a fake landscape, and it moved in real time based on the pilot's action. Actually used it for Apollo training. This is the moon surface, Apollo moon surface, a camera that moves along and based on the decisions of the astronauts. And this is a lunar rover simulator. I don't know if the summary, but this thing fascinates me. They actually have the same setup. It's just like a flight simulator except for a rover. There it is. I believe the camera's upside down or sideways. It's hard to tell here, depending on what they thought worked best. We have a couple of astronauts coming to enjoy their simulation ride. How this helps them, I'm sure, for them planning the ride and getting used to it. But if you look at the footage, it's truly amazing what's going on here. The camera is reacting in basic ways to the surface. The other thing to keep in mind is all of this is recordable, meaning the footage generated, but the camera moves. That's motion control. That's what motion control is. You create a camera move, you record it in the computer, you can reproduce it again and again and again and again. And so you can turn the camera to the left, turn the camera to the right, turn it behind you, and do the same pass. And you can do it frame by frame. You can do one frame every 2 seconds, one frame every 4 seconds. However, it works best for you to generate the imagery. The camera move forward, take a picture, move forward, take a picture. This is another simulator. It's used in the roll-up. This is footage generated from a model, and the kind of camera rig set up. This is very slow. You'll see I speed it up. This is like very speedy, and I speed it up so you want to sit there and stare at it and fall asleep. Here, you just want to speed up. You'll find when you look at the landing footage later, it's very similar to this when I speed it up. You know, this doesn't look as real as the other footage does, but it did more sophisticated implementation. Here's that setup I showed in the summary. The tracks, cameras on the tracks, it's all computer controlled. So it starts with the model and so forth. Here they are, they're calipers, and they take pictures of calipers on these things. And they're mapping and they're making sure that the model matches accurately to the mapping, because the astronauts are relying on it. They're making these decisions. They need to be completely oriented for their landing. And this is a simple mock-up of something in class that showed. That was kind of funny. Because I we did a much more sophisticated for the host. This is a huge, as a man excavated, it's a huge piece of plastic Paris, I guess. I'm not sure what's generated, so it looks like, but highly accurate model. And we'll get closer here, you'll see the fine detail that is in this thing. It's not in here. You start to see more and more greater. Look at all the subtle greater. showing how accurate it is seen when we're impressed. But as we hear this is being used with a little simulator, and it's very similar to the footage captured by the Apollo cameras on the official Apollo landing. But look at the subtle detail. You can see the little craters and things. And we'll get in close here. This is that model. We'll zoom in close and look at the tiny rocks and all kinds of subtle detail happening in this thing. And if you made this model 4 times as big, imagine the detail you can put it. And in fact, you can put a surface on it, put surface sands on it. Do the figure rocket on it, just have it move. Look at this, you said. A huge model there. 2 guys at the bottom standing next to it. I don't know what this was used for, but look, that's an example. Updated model. And configured one up. And I used the set. Same space you're using for the set. Exactly. It's whatever works. Sometimes I think they animated, they had a fake setup, front setup, camera setup. I don't think necessarily it was in view. It was used to generate shadows on the surface. So here's a thing from the deck camera. You can see in the middle, there's the shadow of the antenna and the camera. Sometimes there's because the shadows there is on the set, but I believe they have a rig to generate shadows so that when they projected on the screen from the simulator, it would match up and make you think they're really there. Here's another example you can see, but it's rare, right? Because all these images are my own shadow in a few of them. So it's quite possible they're taking one frame at a time and just got a shadow in there. Fiber optics are using the camera. It's possible they had and discovered a kind of setup of the camera, and instead of doing this, like they did on Star Wars, we have these guys coming in and animating the time it's on the camera animated. In fact, you'll hear Douglas Trumbull a bit describe like we did on Back to the Future ride. I had no idea they could do that, and no doubt he implemented something like that in the Apollo simulation, or the Apollo hoax. So instead of guys doing this, they had cameras, and maybe they had some men in there move the antenna so that it's projected the proper channel. Here I'm showing an example. This is footage generated by filming on the model. This is my computer model, but it's an example. Here we are in the simulator ride in front of the footage with no movement. And now we're going to use the same footage, and we're going to have very simple movement, kind of like what we saw on the rover simulator. And there's the big movement a little bit, that's what's generating the image at the top. And here we're going to have a little extra little detail movement where you're hitting rocks and stuff. Here you can see that extra movement. It's not added, it's separate. So I'm doing these as separate so you can see them as separate in the air. We have a loose camera as if it's on a stem that's reacting to the movement of the rover. And now it's starting to combine. You can see how it all comes together. It's the basic movement of the left image at the top. And now we will have what I call the rose movement, where we're all kind of moving in and out of craters or whatever, modulation. Now we have the smaller movement, and it's a little extra. And here's the main thing: you loosen up the camera bit, it's on its stem, it's reacting to the rig, and now we're on it's pretty extraordinary how simple it is and how effective it is. And you can see the reflections in the antenna up there. I believe they probably have a 360 setup for any kind of reflections, and that's more difficult. Let's look at the actual footage here. I'm not going to show it all to you, but you can see more in the appendix. It's quite extensive. It takes a long time to look at this. I think it's interesting. I would like someone to go through and really nail down what is what. But I think that's not necessary here. And there's sometimes you see a lot of things landing on the moon, unmanned things, and they travel. Some people travel farther than the minute in the rover. The rovers went pretty far. There's a lot of opportunities to manage to gather intel on what the moon should look like. So those flipping through real quick are either low frame rate DAC or It's amazing how unbearable it is to watch the actual footage. It's driving me insane. It's shaking so much. I minimized shaking a lot here. Probably done better. Probably had to be done by hand because the tracker doesn't like tracking this crap. But you can see it looks pretty similar to what I just showed you in regards to the virtual setup of the simulator ride. Some shadow up on the right. This could be set. I believe this section is set, and the previous, if you look at this clip and the whole clip, I believe sometimes they mixed how they did. Sometimes they filmed it with the model, sometimes they filmed it on set. They used the same rover. Actually, it was on set. They would put it in rig. Here, it looks like it's on set with the toe. You can see the shadows of the astronaut on the ground. And there's no other astronauts in the rover, so reflections are just the landscape. So I think it's quite possible this is figure footage. Maybe they're not on set. And this is all reactive to the motion control camera that they animated. There's nothing about this place that says, the landscape says it's actual. So there's no detail there. You can't see the detail. It's all limited. The other thing about this footage is that it was transferred to HG4. Thank you very much. It should have been transferred in log to digital format that we could grab and analyze ourselves. So we can get that data. There's a shadow on the ground, so either that was on the set, it's quite possible they were kind of going in circles there, or it was fancy being done. Douglas Coble is likely the mastermind behind this. He is 2001 official flight mastermind, and he's had a lot of experience simulating moon and space stuff. His first job was with Gravity Films, working for Apollo, generating PR stuff for Apollo. To the moon and beyond was something he generated with Cinerama, which was used as the backdrop. Technology used as the backdrop. Here's some of the information about to the moon and its large film formats, its really large film formats, and the extraordinary what they did in 2001. And there's evidence it's supported by NASA. It was a kind of R&D to figure out all the technology they could use for the Apollo host. And it's always been his interest. You can see he worked for the Apollo program already before he did 2001. Talks about the large format of fisheye lenses and immersive cinema. So I think that's our immersive cinema before the Apollo program. So he was already interested in it. It's quite extraordinary how his career parallels the ability to do all of the things I've described here. Let's hear him tell us.
It's never been documented. It's never been codified in the industry, and nobody really knows how to do it except me. So if you want a simulator ride, give me a call. But the IMAX cameras weighed 150 pounds, and they were huge, and we couldn't put them inside of a miniature. So we actually had to build miniature IMAX cameras for this show. This was a 40 millimeter Zeiss Distagon lens. We built this tiny little camera with a little 50-foot load of film because all the shots were very short with motion control like you've seen before. But this whole camera is only about a foot square, and it could fit inside the miniatures. And then we had to build a theater at my studio which had a dome screen, one of the DeLorean cars, and this whole sound mixing and motion recording operation. And we set up the motion base with the hydraulic pumps and a half a DeLorean car with the seats so we could figure this whole thing out, because we're working in this 180-degree field of view film process that was completely immersive. And I thought this was just the most fun I'd ever had of dealing with a motion picture project to where you're actually in the movie rather than looking at the movie. So this, to me, was a big cinema experience that tied in with all this giant screen, IMAX, show scan, Cinerama type things I had been trying to get to. So the Back to the Future ride was just a hugely satisfying thing for me. We had to build these motion control booms. That was one of the little cameras there. This is one of the big terrain miniatures where we dive into an ice crevasse. The stuff was just really beautiful. We had a fantastic crew, and it was an amazing experience building this ride. It's 3 minutes and 58 seconds of high speed, high intensity action. And I think I'll be able to show you that. Like, here's the dinosaur. This is a 64-channel robot. We had no computer graphics at this time, and we barely had a little bit of optical printing, so it all had to be in camera. It's very, very tricky. So we had one boom here that's supporting the camera, 64 channels of MOCON running this dinosaur, you know, at one frame every 2 seconds or so. And then the DeLorean car, which is right there, is on 9 tiny wires going up to another boom that's over here. And there's all motion control here that's tipping and turning and moving the DeLorean car, and the wires are so microscopically thin that they don't get photographed. So we had actually 2 motion control systems working simultaneously and interacting with a 64-channel robotic monster. It was really difficult, complicated, and amazing amount of fun to make, and very satisfying to get completed.
So the modules all landed on the moon and had footage of it. It's from captured models. I believe it was a model with sand on the surface where the module landed, and it was all filmed slowly except for the landing part, and they had some live action, just like the simulator, and blasted sand. And after the sand cleared, the mixture of mass and stuff dissolved to the actual set of the lander. Life size electric city, and they filmed the astronauts walking around. Here we have Apollo 14, and it's landing on its model, and it's not going very far. You can fix the curve models accurate to the curvature of the moon, so what's very accurate, very similar to the model we just looked at for the LRV, the elevators, things maybe highly accurate. Here's something interesting, you can see some striations here. I put some lines on to show you the wrinkle, and they look just like the mosaic lines that when you have a satellite flying over or around and around, capturing images, and they put the images together. And here you can see those striation lines. It's hard to avoid, and that's human reference. You just build a model, and look, here's very clear. And increase the contrast to make it a little more clear, but to me, that's what they are. They are these mosaic striations. And here we are coming in for landing. It's all sped up compared to what they provided us real time. And you can see the sand now. Unfortunately, in 14, the sand did not tolerate the views of clearly, so they didn't have an opportunity to do an easy blend. And the given is the crater shadows that change, as well as the shape of the surface level of it. Crater shadows are the more obvious thing. Now we'll analyze that here. The camera is supposedly located in filming through one of the triangular windows. I believe it's the one left of the door in this view from the outside. And as the wind is coming in upside down, it's all outside to turn the image. You can see the reference. The framing is the reference. And here we come in, and you can see the sand blasting, but you can almost always see craters. The thing is, there are 2 craters right in the middle there, and you can see just above the middle, and the shadows change. Here they are shadows, so you can keep an eye on them. And you can see the 2 shadows there. I mean, it's very dark, and here the shadows are shallow. It's not so clear to the uninitiated eye, but for me there, it's very obvious. Those are deep shadows, very dark. The crater is just a real microcosm. And here it's just got a blue shadow. And we make it significantly more obvious. That makes some blurriness. I'll demonstrate how this was done. So here are the craters. We have some angle change, right? So one of the shadows are really low in the crater, and the other of the shadows are higher in the crater. In fact, you see it in all the craters there. Only at the top one you don't see it because they change that very quickly. Just with a soft man. It's just, I'm sure, when the dust subsided. So as I go back and forth, you can see all these craters, but the whole surface shifts a little bit. Because it doesn't matter, it's very difficult to have a scale all even smaller and one life size match up. That's quite a feat. And also accomplished, which is why we look at all the other footage, every other one, the other five. The center completely obliterates the view, and then it clears around the center. They may claim this is gas distortion, rocket glass, but it doesn't quite work for me. Distortion taking place with the view, but maybe a little further here so you can see how this was done. We have two different setups. All setup, the light is slightly different, and the set setup. And it just shifts the same model, the same surface, and shift a little bit. So here's the difference. You can see the shadows are different in the gray area, and I shifted the land a little, just subtle. And now, the blur at the bottom is having some obscured by dust, right? So that's the little more accurate to the differences. Now here, I took one of them, blasted my face down on top, and used it as a mat. So they did all this by hand for the most part. But now I use it as a mat, you can see the fluctuation. You can see this kind of distortion taking place. And it's simply because they both different. So there's another discrepancy here. That's because one was a model and one was at life size. There's some change occurring there on the detail. I'm not exactly sure what that is. It's inside the blend or not. But there's no reason for this thing to be changing shape. So who's behind this? Well, there's mission control right now. Almost no one there is behind it. They were fooled along with us. There were perhaps a few agents in there, but the only people talking to the people on the moon were the astronauts themselves. That's not the real moon, by the way. They were the ones involved. I believe they were in the suits, the footage we see. And they've been lying to us ever since. And not everyone in this picture landed on the moon, but I believe they're all involved in one point or another. And so we can investigate that further. But in mission control, there were astronauts there, and they were the only ones allowed to talk to the astronauts. This is the camera controller. I use him all too, because obviously he's not only controlling the camera. I suspect he's possibly or probably involved in a fake footage camera movement. Why not? So what is this? Is this real? I believe it's actually an intel operation with a fake front, as Intel likes to do. You can say it was infiltrated. I believe it was designed to be fake. In fact, all of them are the entire space program. It is a front. Yes, we're here for humanity. Yes, we're putting people in space, but no, we're putting spy satellites up and we're controlling the planet. It's age-old technique of owning the sky. Yes, we call the eclipse, we are in communication with the gods. Apollo is the god of light. Without Apollo, what is NASA? Apollo isn't real, it's a ghost.